My Personal Tsunami by Jennifer Tippins of Artarmon, 2064. Narrated by Janine Penfold. Isn't it amazing how the moon, that small piece of rock in the sky, orbits Earth, waxing and waning every 28 days and influencing the tides on our own planet? Usually the tides are predictable, but when the Great Tsunami struck the Southeast Asian region in December 2004, the water surges in several countries were catastrophic, flooding into the land. The receding waters revealed incredible devastation, and even the tides all around the globe were disrupted for some time. Hundreds of people were killed. Thousands were injured. Some maimed for life. Countless lost their homes, their crops, and their resources for everyday living. International aid agencies rushed to help and spent months, if not years, working to provide the necessities of life, such as food, shelter, and medicines. The vision of so many houses and communities demolished is imprinted on our collective minds. The world community was shocked at the power of nature and in sorrowful awe at its destruction. I only have to hear the place name Banda Aceh, and multiple memories are triggered. In January of the following year, about a month later, I enjoyed a delightful day at Avoca Beach, just north of Sydney, with my sister. The weather was perfect, the water refreshing, the waves not too big, and the ice cream delicious. We didn't want the day to end, so we decided on one more slow walk along the lace-like edge of the water. I loved the feeling of the cool water up to my ankles and splashed along merrily, chatting to Pauline and luxuriating in the warmth of the setting sun. Unbeknown to me, a peculiar rip was speeding towards the beach. As it ended on the sand, it spun into a mini whirl, thus creating a hole in the sand about 40 centimetres deep. My right foot stepped into this whirlpool. The strength of the water as it spun around twisted my leg severely. I heard the cracks as both the tibia and the fibula broke. My left leg dropped to kneel on the edge of firm sand that encircled the mini crater as I collapsed, while the right leg hung into the hole. I was immobilised, so Pauline held me upright and safe. Fortunately, a young man in the surf about 30 metres away noticed that we were in need of help. I was very grateful that he waded over and carried me up onto the beach. Soon the lifesavers came and were amazed that the force of the water could have actually broken my leg. They went away, somewhat incredulous, and came back with something I had never seen before, apparently a new addition to their rescue equipment. It was a wheelchair with large, fat tyres, which easily travelled over the sand. How brilliant it was to be driven over the beach, as if floating on a balloon. Soon an ambulance arrived, and strangely, the ambos asked if I had heard a crack. I had to confess that I had, and this confirmed for them that my leg was indeed broken. I was whisked to the local hospital. There, I had the usual treatment, which is expected in our wonderful first world country. Pain medicine, x-rays, plaster, crutches, a cup of tea, a snack, and lots of sympathy were all very welcome. After a day of medical care, I could go back to my comfortable home to recuperate. My local doctor came to check on me, and my sister stayed to care for me. I learned to use the crutches which had been freely provided, and soon became quite mobile. After a few weeks, the plaster was removed, and I could pick up my life as it had always been, with very few long-term problems. The only long-term issue I have is that sometimes, perhaps when the weather is a certain way, My leg aches. Not for very long, not often, and not badly, but just enough for me to notice it and ponder upon the tragedies of that historic tsunami in Southeast Asia. How many people were killed on that fateful day in 2004? How many died immediately? How many died later or much later of injuries caused by the surging water or falling trees? We don't even know. How many had serious injuries? How many had broken bones which were never treated? Do they still have pain? How many developed chronic diseases? Did families have to move in with other families? Did they ever get their own home again? Husbands lost wives. Wives lost husbands. Did they ever have a chance to remarry? Parents lost children. Children lost mothers and fathers. How could one ever move on emotionally from such a sadness? I call this incident in my life my personal tsunami, as I link it with the major one. I am quite glad when my leg aches, because it gives me a chance to pause in my life and remember. I remember the kindness of my sister, the spontaneous help of my anonymous man, the privilege of good medical care, and the many joys of my long life. I also remember those who experienced the horror and devastation of the real tsunami. I hope and pray that they have somehow found the courage and strength to live on in their lives in a meaningful and joyful way. The end.